today's conversation is with Aaron, and we speak on a lot of great topics. I'll list a few quickly: the importance of the information you consume, how to reflect upon what you're doing, and the power of consciously focusing on your breath. So, if you enjoy, all I ask is that you go to whatever platform you listen to podcasts on and write or do a star rating or review. On Apple, you scroll all the way to the bottom of the episodes and you can write one. On Spotify, you can simply give a star rating. So I appreciate you. And if you have any questions, any topics you'd like me to speak about, shoot me an email at egliskiscapital@protonmail.com. Thank you. Enjoy the conversation. I'm curious, what was the root to why you started self-development?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I about how long ago now was it? Maybe 15 years ago. I stumbled upon things mindfulness really through a couple of things. I think it was some podcasts I was listening to, probably like Tim Ferriss podcast. I think was kind of my first insight into that, and kind of got into meditation, these mindfulness books by Eckhart Tolle was one of my favorites I listened to. And yeah, that was, yeah, very transformational in my life for just being able to handle, the stresses that life throws at us, especially when I was a young parent at that time, and dealing with the stress that's involved with that. And yeah, that was really powerful message that I got there, that allowed me to, kind of step outside myself and see things for what they are, and not the illusion of what we create in our minds of what life is. And just see that we're the person who observes our thoughts, and not the thoughts themselves. And that was kind of my first glimpse of that reality. And then I'll say that later on, my health journey that I started, as part of being a parent, like I kind of got out of shape. I was really into health fitness all my life, but as a parent, I struggled with it, and kind of let things go. And then I tried to get back into shape, using the ways that I knew how, and it was it didn't work the way that it did when I was younger. I tried to restrict my calories, and exercising a ton. And like you're saying, what I realized is that it wasn't sustainable at all. Like I was burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. I was trying to do all these things, not get enough sleep, working out too much, not giving my body's proper nutrients, and it all came back to me, and just trashed my hormones, trashed my body, left me in a really bad state. And that's when I kind of realized that I had to take care of myself in a better way. And it kind of came to a head. My story is, and through that time, like, I did lose some weight, but like I said, I trashed my body in the process. And then I started gaining weight back again. And I had a moment of revelation when I was walking to work one day, and a friend of mine who was walking in front of me, who was maybe 10 years older than me, collapsed from a heart attack in like 2 steps in front of me. And we saved him. We got him to the hospital, and got CPR and all that, but like, it just was kind of a shock to my system. And so that's when I kind of went on a journey of discovery, and like, realized that I didn't have a good plan, and I didn't have the right mentors. And I found that in actually a podcast, believe it or not, this Vinny Tortorich's podcast, and he he talks about a low carb diet, and I tried that and had immense success with it. And I realized like I was working on bad information and a poor plan. And really that's what you need is you got to have the right information, you got to have good plan, and you got to have mentors. And that's what I've learned.
That's a very impactful message, especially the part about, how tragic, but at the same time powerful some sort of experience can be. A lot of
Yeah.
times I feel whether it's you or a friend or a family member, you need someone to get hit by that proverbial truck to realize this is one life, one opportunity. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of if you don't make time for your health, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. And I've only had one person close to me pass away, which was my aunt. And that still hit me. And now I refer to myself sometimes, often actually, as a health nut because it's so important to me. I want to be that 70 or 80-year-old who is moving, who is able to have fun because I was mindful and, like you mentioned, doing the correct action with the right information. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But specifically with the low carb diet, I resonate with that. I think a lot of people do. I'm very hesitant to say this way, my way is the way. But what I've noticed works for a lot of people is a high protein intake from rather than soy and corn fed animals, grass finished animals. But that's if you're really getting into the details. But
Yeah.
if you're getting high protein and working on a calorie deficit, I've had nothing but good sustainable results from that. And it works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think trial and error is the best tool to be what you mentioned about mindfulness, reflecting upon what you're doing and how what you're doing is making you feel. That's like a superpower right there. A lot of
It is.
people are just numb through their lives and they're not thinking about ways to improve. So
Yeah.
tell me a bit about the recent, since you started self-development, some of the adjustments and improvements that have been really impactful on your energy, on your mind. Go wherever you want with that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So what I've really found, and I totally get what you're saying about people have to find what works with them, and I've grown to be less dogmatic in my recommendations for diet, and I've experimented some myself because like I started low carb, then I went to almost completely carnivore diet, and lately I've added like fruit back in to my diet, and I've found that really helped, especially like my hormones and things like that. So
That's
I
awesome.
think I'm in a constant state of experimentation. That's the like I listen to the best advice I hear, and I'm willing to experiment with a lot of things. And what I found is that I think a lot of the foods we eat, like when we take all these foods that we call it so-called junk, like with grains and sugars, things like that, a lot of it, what it does is it crowds out the foods that are healthy for us. That's the thing, like people eat that instead of eating the meat, and that's what really causes the problem. And I mean, there is some damaging things, like with seed oils and things. I know that, but yeah, it is definitely about balance, but it's also about getting the right, nourishing our body properly. And
Mm.
that's what I try to advocate. Like once you nourish your body properly, that hunger, then says that hunger goes away. That's what I found, And when you combine that with mindfulness practices, like you can take your body to exactly where you want it to be without any struggle. That's the thing I see, and that's the message I try to convey to people. That that it's all we try to think of like dieting as it's got to be like a struggle, like a fight, like and it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be taking all your willpower to to get your body where you want it. Like it can really be that simple. And you just have to have the right techniques and the right guide to help you get there.
And I like the switch of language. I don't use the word diet, but I use lifestyle because it
Yeah.
just makes more sense when you view this as a sustainable attempt to be healthy. And
Yep.
adding fruit into your diet, I love that. I try to explain things in a way that a 10-year-old can take it. So I say, if you can't pronounce the names on the nutritional labels, don't eat it. If there's more than 5 to 10 ingredients in it, don't eat it. So simple one ingredient foods like an apple or dates, banana, ground
Yeah.
beef,
Yep.
chicken. And the carbs are okay, but they're like the smallest portion of what I eat. It's more
Yep.
so fruits and protein, and like you said, I love how you described it. If you are eating processed foods, they crowd out your all the good things. And
Yeah.
those processed foods, I don't like to say this because it's sad, but cancer is such a business, and they put these ingredients in our foods. It's almost unbelievable. If you'll go to the grocery store and look at the back of a package, it's
For
most things
sure.
have over 50 ingredients. Like, what in the world? Our ancestors would not have known what that is. That's another
Exactly.
simple rule of thumb. If the ancestors 100 years ago didn't eat it, I'm not going to eat it.
Yep.
So, but with a healthy
Yeah, that's why I
body,
call my company Ancestrally Aligned Health, because
that's all.
total I'm a total belief that our ancestors knew a lot more than we give them credit for. That they
Mhm.
knew a lot more about health and nutrition and lifestyle than we believe. Like they weren't they were smart people. Like, they were just as smart as us. They didn't have all the experience we've had, but they knew a lot.
Yes, I think about it. They survived on the world for so long. We have technology and gadgets, but that's why I look back to philosophers so much. I love studying those
Mm-hmm.
ancient philosophers because the things they say can be applied today. So metaphors are often realer than our personal experience itself. I'm a huge fan of just absorbing information. Like you mentioned, finding a mentor. It doesn't have to be a paid mentor. With the internet, we're so blessed. But
Yeah.
I want to dive into so with a healthy body, I still have so much work to always do to enjoy life. I can easily compare myself to someone above me and sabotage my joy. So let's
Oh
dive
yeah.
into how do you create an enjoyable state of mind?
Yeah, that's a great question, Justin. So many people have that issue that we always look at, there's always someone, like I said, there's always going to be someone stronger, there's going to be someone smarter, there's going to be someone richer, and all this. And really, like, to me, that all comes down to mindfulness, to realizing that, I mean, all of this is temporary. All this, all what we call form is temporary, and it in the scheme of things, the grand scheme of things, like, none of it actually matters. And the only thing that really matters is helping the people that you're with. Like, I love, you ever heard the three questions, Tolstoy, where he says, what's the right time to do things, and what's the most important thing to do, and it's like, that the time to do things is now. Um, the most important person is the person you're with at the moment, and what's the most important thing to do is to serve the person you're with. And I think as long as you do that and keep that in mind, then all that other stuff is kind of meaningless.
That's a good reminder. I'm a huge fan of that. I like, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. So constantly, I'm working to find things that resonate with me like that. Just this present moment, the person I'm with right now, that's where my focus should be, not on what happened yesterday or if that person rejected me last week. It needs to be on this moment. So the
Right.
mindfulness practices are so powerful. What are some other ways that you speak to yourself or I think changing the thought process is super important. Do you work to
Yeah.
rewire the way that you use your language?
I do, and I've found some of the ways that really have helped me rewire things in my entrepreneurial journey. Like one thing I've learned is called it term is called future casting. It's a practice that I use like every day, and that's where you kind of write your dream life, but as it was, if it was what's actually present. And I found that like I'll say like, and I got this from Jason Stapleton, another guy I follow. I've heard of him, but he said like he'll do like, I'll write down, I own $100 million business. I own homes in like Florida, Tennessee, and New York. I like never worry about prices. I am surrounded by love daily. I help people every day. And those kind of things. Like, so you're saying that the things that you want in your life and saying them as if they were now. And it's kind of a form of maybe manifestation, call it, but it gets you in that mind of, doing the things that you'll need to be doing it to live that life. And I find it extremely powerful. And at first, it's hard to believe those things. Like you don't really believe those are true, but with every passing day, and the more you write it down, you actually internalize that, and it really changes your mind in a powerful way. And so I'll tell people like, you know, if your focus is on like your health, like, say I have a strong mobile body. I have, I'm I'm super healthy. Whatever it is, I'm free from pain. And when you say those things every day, your mind works on making it reality. And that's what I found is that you start to believe that, and your mind doesn't know the difference between a strongly held belief and reality. And so once you believe it's true, it's going to happen. Like there's no doubt about it. And that's message I like to tell people that, you know, once you, it's all about belief. Because if you believe that you're sick, and you believe that you're, you know, not worthy, and you believe that, you know, all these negative things, like that's how life's going to be. And you need to change those beliefs.
Right. And I, the point you made about what you tell yourself is really what's going to come to fruition. Example, I was on vacation a week, 2 weeks ago recently, and my sister was telling herself, labeling herself as sick. And I get it. You might feel under the weather. But meanwhile, she's fueling her body with horrible food. And every time I mention it to her, she gets mad at me. So it's a rough battle to try and figure out how to help people who really aren't helping themselves. And I know there's no single answer for this, but what are some ideas you have towards just planting seeds for people? Because bring, we can't force the horse to drink the water. We can bring him to the
Yeah.
river. So let me know what you think about.
Oh man, that's such a great question. Because I mean that is the struggle. Is how do we get people to listen to things that they don't want to listen? And I think the only way is to is really gently, and showing, if you can show them like what's going to happen if they continue on that path. I mean, I think that's kind of the only way, unfortunately. Like we have to be presented with a vivid example. Like for me, it was that guy, you know, having a heart attack. And then that's why I tell people, like, what's it gonna take for you to change? Like, is it gonna be that you have a heart attack, that you have a cancer diagnosis, you get diagnosed with diabetes, you have your foot amputated? Like, because that's what happens to people. And like that's the thing. Like, and if you can't see that, I don't know if that doesn't phase you. I don't really know what to tell you, because I mean those are realities, and like it happens to people every day. And for me, I don't want that. I sure don't want that anytime soon, any of it. And try to show people that there's a better way, and you can feel better, you can have a great life. And but it's all up to you. I mean, that's really, and once you want it, once you want that life, then there's nothing that can stop you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I like the question, what's it gonna take? And also coming with a gentle approach. That's something that is a
yeah,
constant work in progress for me, because we all have that ego, and part of me knows I'm doing well and I'm taking care of myself, but sometimes I get too excited and I'm too aggressive, especially when I have sisters, not brothers, and I'm trying to share helpful information with them. So it's this
yeah,
constant battle. Even if you're doing well, there's always something to be improved.
yeah, yeah. You said you have sisters, you have multiple
Two
sisters,
two
two
younger
sisters,
sisters.
younger sisters. Yeah, yeah. And that's something that's, I tell you what, like there's such a different thing between men and women, as far as like encouraging them to take action. The ways are very, very different, and we need to be cognizant of that, because some people need much more of that emotional reaction. I think women tend to need that emotional connection, and then men a lot of times need to be kind of have things thrown in their face, like this.
Yeah.
Like, you idiot, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't do
Mm.
something about it. So it is different. And then a lot of women do, if they suggest that they need to change, will kind of be resistant to that very a lot of times. So yeah, it's something to be mindful of, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think I need to take some real deep brainstorming sessions and try to unravel the proper way to get them to make tiny changes. I know part of it is 100% leading by example, but then the way that I use my language, I just have to remind myself to be gentle more often.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's good to have aims and goals, because if we don't have them, no good will occur. So, tell me a bit about guidance or advice you would give to someone younger, as you're a father, and I know there's something I could learn from your experiences.
yeah, yeah. So what you said about what we said talk about sustainability is so key. And I think I realized, obviously, cha- it's a lot easier to change habits when you're young. I think, like a lot of people, the older they get, the more set in their ways they get. And so it's definitely something you want to take take care of early. And what you'll realize is life's going to put tremendous pressures on you, and you don't know how that's going to happen. And to stay mindful of that and not let those situations get the best of you, not let them pull you off track. Find ways to, especially with help, to incorporate that into your life. Like I'll tell people, because I used to go to the gym all the time, and then I had kids and I got out of it, and let that aspect slide. And I realized, like, I should have been working more at incorporating fitness into my life with them, and that's the thing, and not using it as an excuse to just just forget about this stuff, just you know to forget about fitness, for that time being, because then it gets that much tougher when you have to make those changes to get back. It's a lot easier to maintain just by doing little things. You can do like your push-ups and sit-ups and things while they're there in the house, or do all kinds of stuff you can do with no equipment, that can keep your body strong and mobile, and and still watch your kids at the same time. So, and then my other thing would be, don't ever let sleep, don't ever prioritize exercise and stuff over, and entertainment over sleep. And because that's gonna, like, especially when you have a family, it's so easy to let that slide. And that's what I did, is like I prioritized exercise over sleep, and it just was very detrimental. And to me, and I also realized, like, it's a balance, because when you're married, sometimes you find that that's like your only couples time, is like after your kids go to bed and stuff, and it's hard to get to sleep at a decent time. And so you really have to watch that, be careful of it. Those are two things I'd say are important for a young person.
Right. And you mentioned planning earlier, and I've heard this often. eh, we all have the same 24 hours. It's just about how intentional do we choose to be with that time. And that's big for me. I'll definitely choose to make sure me and my partner have time to communicate and get clear on our intentions, our feelings, just have some solid communication before bedtime. Because
Yeah,
I had a buddy come to the gym today and he wants to get in shape. And after our workout, he told me he slept for 1 hour last night. I go to him, I'm like, well, your two priorities I need you to get done: high protein and calorie deficit. And number two is sleep. You need 7 to 8 hours.
yeah,
99% of humans need that time. And it's like, are you really so sure you're the 1% outlier? I just don't think so. So that is so important to me.
that's
It's what I preach a lot.
yeah. And that's totally what I was doing. Is I was, for like 2 years or so, we would get up at like 3 or 4 a.m. to walk, like before work. And that was after going to bed, like usually like midnight, so. And it's like that, getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep a day, that it catches up to you. Like, it's not, don't you, I don't think you're special, because that's what I kind of did. Like, oh, I can handle it, I can still do my work, and like, it's going to catch up one way or another. So don't do it. And I think here's the thing that leads to that, is we have so much trouble saying no to things. And that you, like said, intentionality is so key. Like, you have to really determine what's important to you and what you're going to say yes to, and then let the rest go, and not feel guilty about it. That because I think that's something that's so hard for me to understand. Like, you can't do everything, and you have to accept that and be okay with it.
A powerful point. And that's something I realize there's always a trade-off in life. If you want to go to the bar and have quote unquote fun with your friends, quote unquote friends all the time, then maybe you're not going to be able to get your body in the best shape. Not maybe, you won't be able to get your
You
body in the
won't.
best shape. And not to mention, so you're getting less sleep and you're in an atmosphere that usually creates drama and negativity because the people who are in that bar probably aren't using their time as intentionally as it could be used. And I
Yes.
like to use this language instead of saying I spend or use time. Time is something to be invested. So that's just one simple example. I haven't gone to the bar in years, and it's because I understand there's a trade off. And I'd much rather take care of my health for the long term sustainability. So I
I love that.
think,
That's a smart decision. That's a very smart decision. I would totally
right. And
agree.
sometimes our ego gets in the way of things. Often I've caught
Yep.
myself in this trap of, oh, but everyone's having fun. The fear of missing out. That's something that I've had to work through a lot. And I'd like to hear a bit about any tools or systems or strategies. I know you mentioned meditation. Is there anything else that's been a complete game changer for your state of being and remaining in a
Oh.
peaceful area?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as you mentioned it, one thing I've found recently that I've started doing, I've really discovered the importance of breathing properly, and especially like nose breathing and things like that. And I also have started doing Wim Hof breathing. I don't know if you've heard of him before, but I found that's a powerful way to really activate the what they call the parasympathetic nervous system, and the things doing things like that, and also like cold showers and things are some techniques I've used to really kind of work on becoming more present and make my body healthier, more resistant to disease, things like that. And I found those very powerful as well. Like I said, I don't know, I'm all about trying to find what I do, what I can to optimize my health, and because I do value it. And they do, it's a different kind of mindfulness practice, but I think it is still mindfulness practice because it helps to clear my mind, and focus on what's important, and kind of get rid of all the clutter that clogs up our thinking, all the crazy thoughts we have of that we're not good enough, that we're we don't have enough time to do everything we need to do. How am I going to get this done and this done and this done? So it kind of it eases that I don't know, overwhelm, I'll say.
Yeah, and I know me and you are not alone with feelings of overwhelmed or anxiety. Something I like that helped me a lot is 85% of our fears never come true. So if I catch myself in this thought cycle, it could be I'm nervous about talking to someone that I want to talk to. It could be a podcast that's coming up or some sort of client talk. Anything. I have to rewire my thoughts, remind myself, okay, first of all, the breathing is super important. Just even for one
Hmm.
minute, focusing on breathing through your nose and just sighing out through your mouth. And then number two, like if you take your thoughts and they're all cluttered in your head, but you just write them out on paper, everything
Yeah,
seems to get a bit clearer. And
absolutely. And that is another practice I do, and I didn't mention it, but yeah, I do like a thought download, I call it, and like at least once a week or maybe every day. Yeah, every day if I need to. And it becomes, and the thing I'll say about that is it becomes so much. You see, you have so few thoughts is what I see. Like you might have 5 or 10, but once they're like on paper, you say, "Oh, this is manageable. I can schedule these or see if they're important. Maybe they're not even important." But when it's just all in your head, it's it's just crazy. Like you're just trying to keep track of them all, and it just seems like you know your mind's constantly shifting, and it just creates anxiety just having them in your head.
right, you shared Jason Stapleton with me, and I'm going to check him out. So I'll share something I learned from Andy Frisella
Uh-huh.
yesterday. This guy is almost a billionaire, which money is not everything. Money solves the problems that money can solve. Then you're left with the
Sure.
internal problems. But we're talking pretty much internal this whole conversation. And he mentioned creating a power list. So I've been using it just for a couple of days, but I feel so much better about every single moment because prior to this power list, I'm thinking, oh, I have to do that. I want to do that, that, and that. And I just have a million things I want to cross off. So I'll explain this as quick, as simple as possible. The power list is for every single day of the week. It is not your goals, but the tasks that you can accomplish today. So you take this piece of paper and you write down your 5 power tasks. They shouldn't be too easy. They shouldn't be something that you already do every day. For me, the gym is ingrained in me and eating healthy
Yep.
is ingrained. So those aren't on my power list. Some things
Yep.
that are on my power list are reach out to 30 people for my coaching business, answer 10 DMs because these things are not super habits yet.
Yep.
Either read for 50 minutes or read 10 pages of the Bible because reading is, it always seems to be pushed to the back of my priorities. So essentially, the goal is accomplish all 5 tasks on your list. But if you accomplish more than three, you win the day. So you write a W for that day. Same thing goes for the week, 7 days in a week. If you win 4 days in the week, you've won the week. So your goal is to win every week, win every month, and therefore you are pushing the needle every single day, like 1%
Love it.
better every day. And I, I'm going to do that for a long time because Andy is super successful and he still does it to this day. And
Yeah.
it's brought me clarity just over the past few days that I started
Yeah.
using that.
That's very similar to what I do. Like I'll write for the week, I call my big five, and the 5 things that are the most important things that are to be done this week. And then every day I do like a big three. And like these are, the most important things to get done today.
That's
And
great.
exactly like you said, it's not the things that you normally would do in just everyday things. But yeah, it's got to be like it might be like, okay, I got to record a podcast and I have to, write a sales letter, whatever it is, and then yeah, and then you look at it at the end of the day and say, well, did I get these done or not? And but it does it gives you so much more clarity on what you're going to do. And then you know if you see that you're doing other things and not getting those things done, like then you kind of got to reevaluate your priorities. Like why are you looking at social media when you haven't done these 3 things yet, so yeah, it definitely is a great way to focus on clarity. So I'll definitely look at that one. And I like the idea of winning the day and the week. That's great.
Yeah. Was there anything else besides you witnessing that tragic heart attack that really pushed you forward into taking yourself on this self-development journey?
Yeah, I think just just the struggles of like relationships, and you know, like being in a marriage and stuff, and kids and all those, that made me realize like I wasn't enough, you know, to deal with it, with those things as I was. And you know, I had to improve myself, because you know, you can't hope for things to improve in your life. You know, you have to kind of create that life that you want yourself, and enable yourself to be able to handle those situations better. And I think that's like a constant struggle for all of us, you know, heading off that sense of the depression, and the, you know, the negative feelings about yourself, the negative self-talk that, you know, we constantly generate about ourselves, you know, from our previous past experiences, that you don't want to tell us, like, you know, that we're not, you know, we're not good enough, we're, you know, we're stupid, we're, you know, always say the wrong thing, you know, all this negative self-talk. And that, you know, we have to be able to handle that. So that's what I would say. And I did want to go back to one thing you're talking about, you know, how, when anxiety comes up, and what I've learned is that this anxiety we get, like, over, you know, something we have to do, or like, say if we're you know, doing filming someone, if we're meeting someone for a podcast, or you know, giving a presentation or whatever, and we get this anxiety, that every time that happens, it's because we're focused on either the past and our past experiences, getting embarrassments we had or whatever, or we're focused on the future and what people are going to think of us. You know, people are going to hate what we did, they're going to make fun of us, whatever. And we're not focused on the people we're actually trying to help. And so I
Mm.
think once we pull back and look at that, then that that anxiety kind of goes away, when we focus on the now, and you know, who we're with, and the person we're trying to help. So
Very powerful. The future and the past are things, well, the past is something that we should reflect upon, learn from, and investigate. But there's that line between dwelling on it and investigating it. And it's an opportunity. I think if I had to give one tip, one thing that's changed everything for me, it's simply doing actionable things. Like the staple to me being able to talk to you at my best right now is getting to the gym in the morning. And it could be swimming, tennis, badminton, basketball, throwing the football, anything, but our mind and body are so closely linked. And if you get the right sleep and you get moving, all these other thoughts are not nearly as intrusive. You'll still have anxiety, but the odds that you'll be able to notice what's going on before you spiral into a horrible downward trajectory is so higher when you've done some physical exercise in the morning.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and along with that comes how we fuel our systems. So you get good sleep, you eat the right foods, and you do exercise. You'll have this energy to be curious about how to solve your mind's issues. And I like this idea. External things will never solve internal problems. So it's up to you to put down the entertainment, stop scrolling, and listen to a podcast. And along with that, listening to a podcast, take notes. Don't just listen and massage your ego because you're enjoying some educational content. Take some notes, just at least one takeaway. And
yeah,
then from there, you're going to notice your consciousness, your intuition will become louder. Once you get rid of the distractions and you start moving, you will be guided. And at the same time, I always want everything to happen on my time frame. Then I remind myself, wait, hold up. You have to trust the creator, the source, his or her time frame. So I just think
Yep.
that's a nice little way for anyone who's struggling right now to feel a bit better about yourself. You have to take action. Without action, your your goals, forget about them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And yeah, so many people, that's the thing so many people do is they'll read, book after book after book and, you know, or watch videos or whatever, but until you actually take some kind of action based on it, it's just, you're just wasting your time really. And one thing I say, like, I'll tell entrepreneurs that, no matter how many books you read or videos you watch, whatever, you're gonna suck. So so my advice to you is to start sucking now.
Mhm.
Get over with as fast as possible, because yeah, and like I said, until the rubber hits the road, like it's all just, I don't know, just your mind just cycling. So
And,
yeah.
and you just bring up something so powerful. If you're scared of something, ask yourself, what is more painful? The fear of the regret, never knowing what could have happened, or the fear of the quick rejection? I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of young men out there who struggle to go and talk to a girl or to go and build themselves into a person who is capable of talking to a girl. You're much better off starting to suck now. Just embrace that, because if you never take action and you just think, oh, what could have been, there's nothing more toxic to your life than that. So
And I'll just say this too, the the reality of that failure is so much less than what you imagine in your mind, always. And like, because I've started selling things, and yeah, rejection sucks, but it's nowhere near as bad as your mind plays it out to be before you actually try it. That's because you have this, like, oh, I'm gonna feel horrible, like everyone's gonna hate me, and all this stuff, and like that's not what happens. It just, okay, so they said no, that, like, got hurt a little bit, and so you go on. So once you do it, you realize, like, that your mind no longer has that power over you to keep you from doing things. And yeah, like, you said, you go up to a girl and you ask her a number or whatever, and she says no, like, okay, but you're still here, like, you're still breathing, the sun's still shining,
and you did it. Like at
and you
least you
did it,
tried.
and you try, yeah, and then
So
you'll have that experience to look back on for the next time.
so how do you, or what's the process of pivoting a negative situation into motivation? Because that was very helpful for me. I might not have realized what I was doing, but a lot of times I transform negative energy into positive energy, and it's
Yeah,
not an easy thing to express. I'm just
no, it's not.
curious.
I think for me, it's looking at the example of others. We look at anyone who's done anything successful in this life, failed 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. The examples of, like, Thomas Edison, or you know, or Elon Musk. There, like, failed 1,000 times trying to create something, and finally, after all that experiment and all those struggles, they made something great. And no one's done anything of any value without failing first. So that's the example I look at, that it's just part of it's part of learning, it's part of the struggle. And I realized too that it's not about the destination. It's all about the journey. I mean, that's the only thing we get in this life is we get a journey to somewhere. And if we don't enjoy that, then that's on us. Like if you're missing, missing the forest for the trees or whatever, that we can't, that you've got to enjoy the journey, because that's what life is.
It's
And
not
there's going to be ups and downs and everything else, but that's it.
it's funny. I'm aiming to improve upon reading someone and how they communicate. And sometimes I'm very good at waiting for your pauses, but that time I interrupted you. I'm like,
It's,
shh.
you're fine.
So what I was thinking is it's not about the destination, it's about who you become in the process of that aim. And I constantly need to remind myself of these things because I'll catch myself thinking in fairy tale land of all of my dreams and all of my goals. But that's I'm never going to be someone who's perfect. And I know life is to be appreciated for what it offers me today. And having this conversation has reminded me just of that. Sometimes I'll sit here, let's say an hour prior, and think, oh, I have to do this, this, and this. But then I get into a meaningful state and it reaffirms why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I love to get these reminders. I'm forced to be a very spiritual person because some things, just the materialism of our current world doesn't speak to me. I know that humans are meant to connect. And for one, having conversations is such a powerful tool to become present in life. When you are fully immersed in a conversation, and something that is ultimate disrespect is when you're talking to someone and they pull out their phone. I will just walk away. Like,
Good for you.
it completely destroys the natural connection that a conversation is supposed to bring to the table.
Yeah, it actually reminds me just something I just read the other day. It was Tolle again who said that if you want to have if you really want to listen to somebody, don't listen with your mind, listen with your body. And I thought that was really, so really interesting. Like we because we listen with our minds and we try to think ahead to what we're going to say. And it's a good reminder for us to avoid that, is don't listen with listen with your body and say your mind. And you feel that the body, like you're saying, the body language and the nonverbal cues that come in, you observe more carefully, and you give that, when the other person feels that attention from that changes their mindset, it changes their beliefs, and their attraction towards you. So just a tip.
And something that helps me on this topic is I have these thoughts coming into my head. Oh, how am I going to answer? But then if I refocus attention to my breathing and try and listen with my body, like that line is it's a deep line. Listen with your body, not your mind.
Yeah.
Some people are like, huh? What do you mean? So, the quickest way that I would describe that in an actual practical manner is while you're listening, just focus on your breath. Try to cloud out that voice that's telling you what to say next. And everything in life is this building process of stacking brick by brick. I think you have to be patient with yourself. But if you have an aim to be a more intelligent, curious, kind person, you're going good places. What really triggers me is when people are so wound up in the chasing of status and materialism, that they don't realize what they're missing out on. And that
Yeah.
brings us back to that earlier point. Like we can plant seeds and we can be gentle with people. I think that's our job. And that's the only way to get through to those who put up their cognitive wall when
Yep.
when they're informed of new information.
Yep. Yep. I think, like I said, I think it's all about, love, really. That's what it comes down to. People feel that love, and then they, warm up and open up to you, and show that, what their actual issues are, and what, when that becomes that when they open up and become vulnerable, that's when real change begins.
And in everything we've mentioned, it serves as a reminder for the both of us because I'm not going to act as if judgments still don't come into my head. But the quicker I can replace those judgments with a natural curiosity, the better off I'm serving everyone else
Yeah.
and myself. I
Yeah.
think that's a beautiful place to leave off. I had a great conversation. This is just I enjoy speaking with you and I appreciate your time.
Oh, it was feelings mutual, Justin. I had a great time, and I sure do appreciate what you're doing. And yeah, and if I could just ask your viewers to follow me, if you like what I have to share. Follow me on Twitter at Diesel Dads, and I'd love if you subscribe to my newsletter there, and also just look for the Diesel Dads podcast. I'm gonna have some great guests on there, and I'd love to share those with you. So, but yeah, it was such a great time, Justin, and hopefully we can do it again.
Yes, sir. I love to reconnect with people. I thank you so much, Aaron, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.